Hello, I'm Stephen Ballast. Welcome to my channel where I explore worship technology solutions. In this video, I'm looking at the YoloBox ULTRA. This is the latest standalone encoder, monitor, switcher, all-in-one live streaming device from YoloLiv. And it's got some pretty cool new features like 4K streaming, 4 HDMI inputs, NDI, and a lot more. So let's take a look at it. I've been following the YoloLiv company since they came out with the first YoloBox. I did my first video about that back in 2020. And as a live streaming solution, what I liked about the YoloBox concept is that it's a standalone unit. It doesn't require a computer or multiple complicated things you've got to set up and configure. You connect your video inputs, connect the box to the internet, log into your socials, and you're able to start live streaming. Then they came out with the YoloBox Pro, which I think added the processing power and inputs to make this all-in-one concept really useful and capable. I've been using the YoloBox Pro here at our church for a little over a year now to live stream our ASL or sign language stream. We use the YoloBox to add the interpreter camera over the video from our switcher and send that out as a second stream available on our website. And the YoloBox Pro has been working great for us. But before I dive into looking at some of the new features and cool things that the YoloBox ULTRA has, stick with me a second, because I think some context is important for fully understanding the Ultra and all the potential that it brings. One of the things I've appreciated about YoloLiv is that they've been working to make their products better with the goal of providing great live streaming solutions for their customers. Most significantly, I think, is their YoloCast platform. And let me make this clear, because this question comes up a lot and can be confusing to some people. All the YoloLiv devices, the Pro, InStream, and now the Ultra, can all stream directly to your destination without needing any subscription or paid service from YoloCast. They are still a standalone encoder. And once you link it to your socials, you can take your video inputs and live stream to YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitch, wherever you need to go. And with the Ultra, up to 6 destinations at the same time, assuming your network connection can handle all those upload streams. And that's really the crux of the issue of what I'm getting at here. When you add in the YoloCast platform, it adds a number of additional powerful things you can do, and these can be especially useful for churches. With the YoloCast platform, you can do things like store your live streamed videos in a video library and embed those on your website. You can simulate a live stream, so that means uploading a pre-produced video and sending it out to your destinations like it's a live stream. You can also use the YoloCast platform to stream to multiple destinations. For instance, your own website, YouTube, and Facebook, all at the same time without the need for more upload bandwidth in your internet connection. You send one stream to YoloCast and their servers distribute it to all of your destinations that you have configured. Using the YoloCast servers, you can also enable something called the Ardent Streaming Protocol. This is a special connection between your YoloBox and the YoloCast servers that is much more reliable and resilient to any temporary glitches and interruptions on your network than a regular RTMP stream would be. So your upload connection, which is where most issues in a live stream occur, that one connection for your upload can be a whole lot more reliable. The YoloCast server also enables bonding. Each of the YoloBoxes have multiple ways you can connect to the internet. An Ethernet port, SIM card to connect through a cell tower, Wi-Fi, and even the ability to use a USB dongle for internet connectivity. What bonding does is use all of the available connections to increase the amount of bandwidth you have available. This can be really useful for some rural churches where your internet connection can't handle an HD video stream. You could add another connection like from a cell tower to increase the amount of bandwidth you have available. On the Ultra, you can bond together the data bandwidth of up to 5 connections, and it will combine the bandwidth of all those connections to ensure you have the data rate you need for your live stream. Those are just some highlights of the YoloCast platform, but I wanted to give that background about YoloLiv, because I think it sets the context for the full potential of the YoloBox ULTRA. It can be a standalone encoder and never use the YoloCast platform, but it also fits into this bigger ecosystem that you have available if you need it from YoloLiv. So with that in mind, Now let's take a look at what the Ultra has to offer. A quick tour around the outside. It has 4 HDMI inputs and 1 HDMI output that can be used a couple different ways. You can use it as a bigger display just of the main interface, or it can be used as a program out and give you an output of the final switched video. The Ethernet port to connect to a wired network, 2 USB ports. You can connect USB peripherals to this, or you can connect additional webcams for extra camera inputs. On the other side, the USB-C charging port, and then a stereo line in for audio, a mono microphone in, and then a headphone out to monitor your audio. Here's where you would put your SIM card for connecting to a cellular network for streaming, and next to that is the SD card slot. And we'll talk more about some cool new capabilities that the Ultra adds there in just a minute. And then finally, here's the power button. These USB ports on the top are fully functional USB interfaces. Basically, if a device works with your Android or iOS device, it might work here. I haven't tried a lot of different devices yet, but one of the cool things I've heard you can do with it is connect a large touchscreen monitor that you can use to operate the Ultra from. What I have tried, and this honestly may be small to some, but is one of the things I'm most excited about the Ultra, you can connect a USB audio interface. That will let you bring your audio in from an audio mixer, or if you have more professional microphones that require XLR inputs and phantom power, you can use those through an audio interface. I've tried 3 different USB audio interfaces, and they've all worked fine for me. One of the first things I noticed right away when I pulled this out of the box is that it's noticeably heavier than the previous models. I'm sure that's mostly due to the larger capacity battery at 6,800 milliamp hours, but also the bigger screen. This 8-inch monitor is really nice to work with, and it's the brightest screen yet in the YoloBox, which is something I noticed as well. Working with it inside, I actually dimmed the screen down, so I imagine working with it outside in sunlight will be just fine. And then the more capable processor all add to that weight. It's not overly heavy. I'd still feel comfortable mounting this on top of a decent cold shoe mount, but just something to be aware of. If you want to mount this on top of your camera, you'll want to use a sturdy, secure mount. Feature-wise, one of the first things that's going to set the Ultra apart is the ability to stream in 4K. Your destination also needs to support that resolution, so at the moment, that's mainly going to be YouTube. Obviously, one of the challenges of streaming in 4K is pushing all that data upstream to your destination through your internet connection. The standard rule of thumb for a decent quality image has been to use about 5 to 6 megabits for a 1080p stream and 20 to 25 megabits for a 4K stream, using the H.264 encoding standard. But the Ultra now has the capability to encode in the newer H.265 format. It's a much more efficient encoding standard, so we can get a comparable 4K quality image with just a 12 megabit bitrate. This greatly reduces the requirements for your internet connection and really makes 4K streaming practical. Again though, not all streaming destinations will accept H.265, so be sure and check with your streaming host to see if they support it. Right now, the main one that does is YouTube. So if you're thinking about streaming in 4K at the moment, YouTube is your best bet. Another nice feature that's been added to the Ultra is ISO recording. What that means is you can record each of the 4 HDMI inputs to its own file on the SD card. Or what I actually like to do is use those USB ports on the top and connect an external SSD drive and record to that. Maybe you're filming a bigger production where you want to put out a more polished edit of the video after the live stream. You can go back and use the recordings from each camera in a video editing program to re-edit it. Or even just maybe fix a bad edit that may have happened when you were live. There are some limitations when it comes to recording in 4K. You can only record the program in 4K. In other words, your switched final output video. The ISO recordings of the individual inputs are limited to 1080p. On the recording page, these resolutions are like tabs. You can select what will get recorded at each resolution. So for instance, I can select all my inputs under the 1080p tab, and then go to 4K and select my program. So the program output would be recorded in 4K, and my ISO recordings of all my inputs will be in 1080p. Another nice upgrade on the Ultra for recording is that they've separated out the bitrate setting for the streaming encoder and the recording encoder. On the settings page under stream encoding settings, you set a bit rate for the stream. Your stream will go out at the resolution you set for your whole project here above your display window, and it will use the encoding format, either H.264 or H.265 that you choose here. But over here on the recording page, we could, for example, record our program in 4K, choose H.265 encoding, and bump the bitrate up to 28,000 kbps to get a really high quality recording to use later. The Ultra also has the ability to bring in an NDI video feed through its network connection. Let me show you real quick how easy it is to bring in a PTZ camera I have here on my network into the Ultra through NDI. Just tap on Add an Input, select NDI, and it will list any NDI devices on my network. Select the camera I want, and I now have that camera coming in as an input that I can switch to as part of my live stream. So the Ultra isn't just limited to 4 HDMI inputs. You can bring in NDI cameras, you can also bring in additional webcams in through the USB ports, or I've connected my A10 Mini as an input to the Ultra. So you really can bring in as many cameras as you want into the Ultra for switching. Obviously, one of the big capabilities of the Ultra is adding the capability of the in-stream to be able to bring in both vertical and horizontal video. When you start up the Ultra, you're asked which format you want to use. So just be aware it's one or the other, vertical or horizontal, not both at the same time. And then depending on which you choose, it rotates the whole display for the best layout for dealing with that aspect ratio. Now, I'm a cinematographer at heart, and I have to say that vertical video just goes against something in my core and makes me want to say, no, don't do that. I love that widescreen cinematic look. But that being said, I do think that vertical video is not only here to stay, it's going to become a dominant format for live streaming. And for churches, if our goal is to reach people with our live streams, and when I look at our live streaming statistics, the vast majority of viewers are watching on their phones. And phones speak the language of vertical video. I think vertical video is something that more churches need to start exploring, and the Ultra gives you the capability to do both. Some other new features to note: some churches may be interested in the auto camera switching. If you're really short on volunteers and don't have someone who can give their time 100% to operating the stream, you can configure what cameras to include and how they will be switched, and the Ultra will do the switching automatically for you. There's also a remote app for your phone that you can use to control the Ultra. These aren't necessarily new to the Ultra. You could do these with the Pro model as well, but I think it's important to be aware of if you're thinking of using the Ultra for your live stream in your church. The Ultra can do Luma and chroma keying, so you can bring in your lower third lyrics from your presentation software and key those over your video. And along those lines, YoloLiv has a free service available on their website where you can bring in what they call web overlays. Basically, you create all kinds of overlays on their website and control them from the website, and those will get overlaid over your video on the Ultra. I'm really impressed with the Ultra. The products from YoloLiv just keep getting better and better. I'm going to do a few more videos with some specific walkthroughs of how to use features, like bringing in lyrics over NDI from a presentation computer for your lower thirds, and streaming in 4K to YouTube. If there's anything you'd like to see demonstrated in a tutorial, let me know down in the comments. I also want to do a series of videos exploring vertical video. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, be sure and subscribe to my channel. I hope you found this video helpful. Until next time, bye.